Ladies and gents, welcome to yet another episode of What's Next podcast. Please do me a big favor by hitting that like button and subscribing as well. Got another great guest, but like I said, we're switching up the gears a little bit. We're in a whole different location, as you guys can see. This is the home of my Kentucky post-game show. I know last episode I brought you guys to my radio show. I said, let's switch up the gears. Let me show you guys the Kentucky post-game. This is kind of where we do things, and I wanted to bring a very, very special guest on for this episode as well. So with all that being said, I'm going to introduce him in a little different way than I usually introduce my guests. I've been working on something, really hard last night. Actually, a few days ago, just trying to, get a nice little rap song, something like that. Give you guys something a little bit different. So here it goes. Don't judge me. Don't judge me either. From the courts of Kentucky to the NBA grand stage, Darius Miller's journey is a basketball sage. Smooth moves, sharp skills, he's got game, an inspiring player with a lasting name, bars. Draft dreams become reality. That's his tale. On the court, his skills never fail. New Orleans, Germany, where he roamed, a global hoop journey he called home. Now off the court, a transition made, life lessons learned, wisdom was laid. Darius Miller, a baller with grace. Welcome to What's Next. Let's embrace. Oh my God. Darius Miller, my man. Welcome to What's Next podcast, man. Honored to be sitting across from you. I'm getting to chat with you and getting to learn a little bit more about your journey and having you sit here on my platform and with my audience, being able to tell your story. Welcome to the show, my man.
I appreciate you having me, and I've seen you a couple of your episodes too. One with my brother Twani, and I really enjoyed it. Seriously, I really enjoyed it. I like what you got going on, bro, and appreciate you having me on here.
No problem, man. No problem. Yeah, Twani, y'all both former teammates, former champions. I think you're my third champion on What's Next podcast. I had Twani Beckham, Cameron Mills, now Darius Miller. So I'm hoping to keep that in line, keep the champs going, man. But like I said, honored to have you on here. How you doing today, man? How's life been for you?
I'm great, man. I can't complain at all. Spending time with my family. Finally back home in Kentucky, close to friends and family. So I'm really enjoying my time right now.
What are you doing now? That's the biggest question. Everybody asks that. Kentucky fans want to know that. Once players leave Kentucky, they watch them, regardless if they're playing overseas or if they're in the NBA. But after their basketball journey, they still want to know, like, hey, man, what you doing now? And I want to ask that question just to start things off because, I remember sitting across from Dominique Hawkins and asking the same thing. I said, what you doing now? So I'm going to ask you, Darius Miller, like, what's going on now in your life?
Well, right now, my main priority is, spending time with my family. I got two daughters, 9 and 6. So being there for them, trying to give them the blueprint to life, building on those relationships. And then outside of that, I've just been on my entrepreneur journey, trying to grow and expand in other areas, dipping in a little bit of real estate. Also trying to give people, the right information, the right tools to better their life. I feel like there's a lot of people going through a lot of different situations. So I'm just trying to give back to the people that supported me in my journey.
How's the entrepreneurship journey going for you? I know, that can be challenging at first, but once you kind of pick the ground up and get running, how's that been for you?
I love it. It's a new thing for me to compete in. I'm very competitive. I'm big on continuous improvement, so
better.
This is another way for me to grow, expand, continue to learn, and like I said, figure out a blueprint to pass on to my family as I continue to grow older.
You're a big family guy. You're also known as a big family guy to the Kentucky fans because you're from here. You're from Kentucky, Maysville, Kentucky. Walk me through like your upbringing in Maysville. Small town, not necessarily the biggest town in Kentucky, but what was that like? What's your upbringing like for people who don't know?
Like you said, small town. Definitely a close-knit family. Mom and dad, huge examples for me, great examples for me. 2 little sisters. An older brother that moved in with me when I was younger. He's my cousin, but I call him my older brother. And just spending a lot of time with them, working on my game. Maysville's a big basketball county. Chris Lofton came from there to play at Tennessee. And some other guys that people might not know or might know. You never know, honestly. But, just Great place for basketball, great place to learn the game, develop my skills, and also, grow a lot of relationships that lasted throughout the years.
No, for sure. Now, you're a guy and growing up in Maysville, big-time Kentucky fan growing up. I mean, when you're in Kentucky, you're either a Louisville fan or a Kentucky fan. You were on the Kentucky side of things. Walk me through, like, how you got introduced to basketball, though. Like where did basketball kind of pop up? How'd you get introduced?
So I got introduced real young, since I can remember, honestly, because my pops actually played at Morehead.
Oh, really?
State. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
My brother played at Morehead State.
Oh, word.
So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's where my pops played at. So since I was young, since I was little, since I can remember,
It's always been there.
it's always been there. I wanted to be just like my pops. He used to travel around, going to little tournaments like the Gus Macker, a little 3-on-3 tournament, traveling to St. Louis, Texas, and I was always with him. So growing up, I remember that's all I knew really is basketball. So I just had a love for him since I was a child.
Any other sports you was interested in or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I played football too until I was maybe a junior in high school, sophomore, junior in high school. I definitely love football too, but not as much as basketball.
Basketball was set, man.
Sure.
Family's in it. You got no choice.
Sure.
You gotta follow your dad's footsteps, man. You mentioned Chris Lofton. You guys killed the high school basketball scene for so many years. Walk me through how that relationship started between you and Chris Lofton.
I remember seeing Chris when I was real young, and he was one of the first examples I've ever seen of somebody who really wanted it in basketball. You know what I mean? He worked, and that's kind of where I learned work ethic between him and my pops. Just seeing them, and my pops he had no, when I came about, he had no dreams of going to the NBA or anything, but he still was in the gym daily, like working kids out, you know what I mean? Yeah. Working with Chris and other people who had, dreams and desires from back at the crib. So, I seen Chris probably when I was 4th, 5th grade, and I used to follow him around. He used to do a lot of working out at the YMCA. I'd pop up on him after school, just trying to play against him or learn what I can learn from him.
Learn what you, be a sponge, learn what you can. I got you.
Exactly. But, I remember Chris since I was young. He was always the guy in the little town that we was in, so I remember being up under him trying to learn as much as I can.
What was those one-on-one battles looking like?
Oh, they used to dog me when I was little. I ain't gonna lie to you, because they all a bit older, and we had some other guys too, like a guy named Sean Myrick that played in Cincinnati, and we had some dogs down there, man. So they never took it easy on me, and that's what helped me to become who I became. Because I used to take that personal. And,
no, for sure.
Yeah, really wanted to get on the court with the older guys, wanted to compete with the older guys. Yeah. So that kind of shaped my competitive nature and my love for the game.
A sense that you belong.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. Talk to me about, obviously you're in Maysville, Kentucky. You're Mr. Kentucky. You're getting all these accolades, all these, awards, and you're one of the best players in the state of Kentucky. And not just the state, but the country as well. Now you decide to go to Kentucky. And a lot of people don't know that, obviously Louisville was up there too, that you're kind of deciding to go there too. Talk to me about why you decided to pick Kentucky over Louisville.
Like you said, I definitely had an interest in Louisville, mostly because of Rick Pitino and what he was able to get out of his players. He had it just like you can't argue with it. You know what I mean? The players that he had when he was here, he did a great job of getting the best out of them, and they went on to perform at the next level. So I always kept that in mind. But it was just like you said earlier, I was a fan of Kentucky. My grandma was a fan of Kentucky. It went down the line, and I built a relationship with guys like Patrick Patterson that was here, Jody Meeks that was here. Yep. I got to come up and play open gym with him a lot because I only lived like an hour down the street. So whenever I could, I was up here trying to play with those guys.
How was those sessions looking like?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, bro. And it kind of gave me a gauge of where I was at, and built my confidence too, because I was able to compete and go at them even when I was, a freshman in high school. So,
oh wow,
excuse me, senior.
My bad. Okay.
I'm thinking freshman, college, senior. I'm glad you corrected me on that. Senior in high school, but that's probably what made me come here. Just the relationship I built with those guys and wanting to play with them the next year.
You're seeing it. You're in high school. You get to see it early. You're playing pickup with them, and you get that confirmation that I know I can play here. I know I can. I know I belong here. Now, when you get here to Kentucky, you're a Kentucky fan. The expectations are different. Being a Kentucky fan, and then now you're putting on a jersey. You're going in the Rupp Arena every night, and it's different now. So walk me through what was your adjustments in terms of mindset, being that if you can compare being a Kentucky fan compared to being actually a player and getting to know, like, you're within the walls now, you're seeing how hard it is, you know, and what it's like to be under a microscope. Walk me through, like, what was the whole process for you in terms of that?
It was a little bit of pressure at first, just to figure out how to handle the transition. You know, find my role, find my identity on the team. So it was a little pressure, and like you said, me knowing how much the organization means to the state of Kentucky. You know what I mean? We don't have a lot of no proteins, anything like that. So they look to, like you said, Kentucky and Louisville is like the two main programs. So I knew that coming into this, and I knew the expectations. They want us to win a championship every year.
I knew all
this going into it. So at first it was a lot to deal with, but I enjoyed it. In the same breath, I enjoyed it because, like I said, I'm extremely competitive, and that's something that I dreamed about doing since I was a little. You know, coming here and trying to fill those shoes of the guys that came before me, the Tayshaun Prince, you know, the Tony Delks, all those guys that I used to watch. So it's like I really enjoyed it and look forward to taking on that challenge.
Hey, Kentucky fans, guess what? The basketball tournament, also known as TBT, is headed to Rupp Arena this summer, and it's bringing a new team called La Familia, made up of all your favorite Kentucky alumni, led by General Manager Twani Beckham. Get excited, ladies and gents, to see your beloved Wildcats back in Rupp Arena competing for that $1 million prize. Keep an eye out for ticket sales. They're coming very, very soon. You won't want to miss this epic basketball showdown.
I want to ask you this, Darius. Like, what was the moment when you got here where you were like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening? Obviously, you sign, you do your signing at your high school, and you do all that good stuff. And you commit to Kentucky, but when did the actual moment come to you where you were like, "Oh, this is real! Like I'm actually playing for Kentucky"?
Probably when we started that preseason camp, and my freshman year was an interesting year. We had Billy Gillespie here, and he was a different coach, very demanding, hard-nosed type of dude. You know what I mean? But it was a huge adjustment, even getting into like the conditioning aspect of things, you know what I mean? So my real wake-up call was when I first got here in the summer. You know, we got crazy workouts. I'm running my body until it's failing, you know what I mean? And then that's when it really clicked, like, okay, this is something different. Yeah, this is something different.
It seems nice, man. It gets real. I get it, man. I totally get it, man. You talked about playing for Billy Gillespie. You know, obviously you play for Cal too. What was that like, you know, with that transition from playing from a coach who, you know, recruited you to a brand new coach and Coach Calipari? What was that whole process like? Where was your mindset?
It was night and day, to be completely honest. They just had two different styles of coaching, two way different personalities. And of course, I already knew about Coach Cal. He's had huge success at the other programs that he was at. And he was coming with a gang of guys that was ready to compete and go at, like John Wall, Eric Bledsoe. Those guys had committed already and was coming over with them. So really the guys that was here was just looking to keep their spot. You know,
no, for sure.
Staying in the gym, getting after it every day, trying to work to make sure my spot was guaranteed when he came over and took the reins.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I want to ask you, like, the hometown kid that comes. You talked about you felt a little bit of pressure playing, you know, as the hometown kid. People look up to you. And the thing about you, Darius, you weren't just a 1 year player. You were there from freshman to senior year, and you were the hometown guy. Talk to me about, like, how did you manage to you know, use that pressure to your advantage?
I took a sense of pride in it because like you said, I kind of felt like I knew what the fans were thinking, you know, and the expectations that they had, because I had them same expectations.
Exactly.
Like I grew up in it, so I'm thinking the same way. Like we need to win it every year. So you know what I mean? That's kind of the mentality that I approached it with, and it was just a sense of pride that I have. Like I said, representing my state. Like a lot of guys didn't come from here; they didn't grow up really diving into UK basketball's history and really appreciating it. So, but I was a little bit different, so I think that kind of drove me. And then, like I said, at first there was a little bit of pressure, but once I realized that there was a lot of support outside of that, though. You know what I mean? There was some pressure, but the fans really supported me. They showed me love, and I kind of embraced that. And once I did, it changed my mentality.
For sure, man. So when you got to Kentucky, outside of, I know you talked a little bit about the conditioning and how tough it was, just starting it out, just getting into your workouts when you got here. But was there anything in particular that really shocked you? And this is not just about Kentucky, but just the college game in general. When you got here, was there something that kind of shocked you? I know a lot of my people that I've interviewed, they said physicality, the speed of the game changes a lot. But I want to ask you, like what was the major shocker for you?
I say physicality. I would say that too, especially in the SEC. It's a very physical.
I can
brand
see that
of
on TV.
Basketball. Yeah, for sure. A very physical brand of basketball, man. So that was probably the biggest adjustment for me. Playing against guys that's 4 years older than me, 2, 3 years older than me, physical, grown man strength. You know what I mean? As soon as I'm coming in, that was probably the biggest adjustment that I had to get used to. So. But I developed a love for the weight room. We had some really good weight guys, strength and conditioning coaches.
Okay.
And that really helped me out a ton.
For sure, man. I want to ask you, your junior year, you come very close to winning that title. Senior year, you win the title, you get to graduate, you get your degree, you get to do all this great stuff and represent the state of Kentucky. But I want to touch base on the 2012 team. What was so special about that team compared to all the other teams? Now, I know there's some other teams that were good that you played on as well that had a chance. Obviously the way things playing out sometimes you just don't get to win every year. It's tough. But I want to ask you, what was so special about that 2012 team that won that chip?
Probably the chemistry that we had, honestly. Everybody just wanted to win the championship. And it's hard for a team to do, especially with a bunch of young guys who's going to go to the league. You know what I mean? They got their eyes on the next year coming up. Yeah. But that was probably the biggest thing, man. The chemistry between the team. Everybody was bought in on winning the championship, and we had some vets that knew what it took. Like you said, the year before we got so close, so we knew what it was going to take.
No, for sure, for sure, man. I want to ask you a question because I'm going to bring them questions, man. What 2012 team or the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins team? Who you think is the better team out of those two?
My sophomore year team.
Sophomore team?
Yeah.
Man, y'all had some dogs. John Wall, the Cousins, man, that team was stacked, man. I'm not even going to lie to you, but I do want to ask you, you talked about, everybody knows you as a player in Kentucky, you're playing the best players in the nation every day at practice, right? Walk me through, and I asked this same question to Dominique Hawkins. Mm-hmm. Who's that guy you going into practice and you're like, oh, boy, I got to deal with this guy today? Who's the toughest guard for you? And this is from a 4-year span because I can list a whole bunch of players. You got the Anthony Davis, John Wall, Deron Lamb, all these guys that are just tough to guard. Give me a top 2 or top 3 guys that you just were like, man, I got to go against this guy.
Jay Wall for sure.
Yeah.
And Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
MKG.
Not necessarily from he was the best scorer or anything, but his motor was just ridiculous.
He never stopped.
Every single day it was a battle. Every single day, picking up full court. And you saw it in the games. Like he was relentless.
Motor,
you know what I mean? So I would say Jay Wall for sure. Just he was his talent was unreal and his speed was unreal too. And then I say Gilly because that was like more so my matchup.
Position too,
So we battled it out every single day.
Yeah. For sure, man, for sure. Walk me through now. You do your 4 years at UK. You win a natty. You big guy, big hometown guy. Maysville's looking up to you as that almost like a superhero figure. Walk me through what it was like getting drafted, becoming an NBA prospect and your whole NBA draft process. But walk me through the moments of becoming drafted. How important was that for you?
Oh, that was extremely important. Just because that was a dream of mine. That's what I've been working towards since I can remember. Like I said, when I was in the gym with my dad and I was in the 3rd grade, that's what we was working towards. You know what I mean? So for it to finally come true, it was amazing. And I got to spend that with my mom, my dad, all my close friends and family. Like we was here in town. Kicking it.
It was in Lexington?
Yeah. Okay, we just had like a little private little get together with everybody who's been there through the times, So it was special for me for sure.
What is that like? Do they give you a phone call and call you before? What is that how it goes? Pretty much?
Yep. You pretty much waiting to hear, and then it was probably like 2-3 picks before mine. My agent gave me a call like, hey, you'll be up in 2-3 picks. We we got a deal, whatever the case may be. So yeah, it was amazing. I can't complain about that at all.
You're in the NBA. You're starting to get your stride. You know, you're playing in these big arenas, and you're playing against the people that you looked up to. You're growing up and stuff like that. But there's moments that kind of wake you up a little bit. So give me your welcome to the NBA moment. What was that like for you?
I had plenty of them. My first go around at the league, bro. Playing against Bron and D Wade in Miami.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
That's that prime Bron.
Yeah, that was they were impressive to say the least, man. They was tough to deal with, all of them boys. And then I got waived my third year too. You know what I mean? That kind of shook my world up a little bit, but it got me back on track. Cause up until that point, my main goal had been to get to the league. I ain't have nothing. I ain't have no plans set up after that. You know what I mean? So once I got there,
you saw make it.
I'm like, I'm here. But then it's what's next? You feel me? I'm like, what, I got to figure out this next part. And I think that going over to Germany kind of helped set me back on track, get my mind back into it, find my love for basketball again. So that's probably the two. One being the welcome to the NBA moment, because I check in and coach is like, you got LeBron James. That's a heck of a matchup right there. And then the real moment was probably getting waived and going overseas to
it's a business.
Yeah, find my love for basketball again.
So you get to notice the NBA is a business for sure. You go to Germany. Walk me through the I guess what are the major differences between overseas basketball compared to the NBA, and obviously the talent. We know that, but dive a little bit deeper in terms of how it works over there compared to the NBA.
Yeah, the overseas more like a college feel. Like you play against, it's more of a structured team. You know what I mean? It's more like there's systems that certain teams have. It's like certain teams play a certain way, and then the NBA it's just like you got Bron, you got KDs, you got your Stephs. Of course, there's systems, don't get me wrong, but it's just like the overwhelming talent. You just got to let those guys go. And then there's just different rules changes over there, like no 3 seconds, so it's really tight. Hard to score at times, you know what I mean? But totally different games, but both of them I really enjoyed.
Was it hard making that decision? Obviously you get waived. And then now you're you have to pivot. You have to kind of figure out what to do. Was it hard just making that decision to go play overseas?
A little bit, but I saw it as a huge opportunity, to be honest. I had been able to talk to some of my guys who played before. One of my close friends actually played on the same team I was thinking about going to. So I got a pretty good breakdown of what it was going to be like. And it was another chance for me to get over there and do my thing, you know what I'm saying? Kind of find my rhythm again, be one of the main guys on the team, and I welcome that. It was a lot of fun.
So was the overall goal to, obviously you're playing in overseas, was the overall goal to come back to the NBA in the future? Was that at that time, was that your game plan? It was like, let me go over here, let me kind of, find myself a little bit better, but I'll be back in the NBA in no time. Was that your mindset?
Yeah, that's kind of how I went into it, and it's funny you asked that because that changed after my first year. After my first year, I was having so much fun in Germany. I wasn't really
thinking about
it. Yeah, I wasn't even caring about coming back, to be completely honest. I was one of the guys on the team. I was making good bread. My family was comfortable, you know what I mean? So I had found my love for the game again, and I think that's what led to me making it back, to be honest, because I kind of let go of all the NBA stuff and found the love for the game and just got to hooping again.
Exactly. Less pressure. You kind of just having fun with it. You feel like you're back at Kentucky and doing your thing.
1,000%.
What about when you get back to the NBA? What was that moment like when you're coming back to the NBA? You're on the Pelicans. You're playing with your former teammate and Anthony Davis. Walk me through. Kind of talk. Tell me how you felt. At that moment, being able to prove to yourself that, hey, I still belong in the NBA. I still can play in the NBA. What was that like?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I got to play with a couple of my old teammates. DeMarcus was on that team.
Boogie.
AD was on that team.
Was that weird?
It was at first, but that quickly went away because the chemistry was just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And these were some guys that I knew was going to hold me accountable. Who was going? Yeah. We all had the same goals in mind. You know what I mean? Then Rondo was on the team.
Oh, that's crazy.
Who was like our older brother. He was the older guy that came through Kentucky, kind of took us under his wing, and it was a lot of fun. And we had a really good run too in there till Cuz tore his Achilles kind of shut us down. But no, coming back to that's probably the best case scenario, to be completely honest.
You go through a very tough injury that kind of set you back a little bit. What was the mindset from playing in NBA and now you're dealing with this injury? I don't know if you ever had such a gruesome injury like that, or such an important injury like that. How did you manage? I guess, like, where was your mind at that point? Were you done? Like, was it a process for you to keep playing or come back after injury? What was that like?
It was a process, but I kind of like mimicked the process that I had taken with overseas and just went like a day by day type of thing.
Okay.
I had some amazing trainers. As you know, in the NBA, you just have all the resources in the world. You know what I mean? So I just kind of set my mentality on, like, this has to be a day-by-day thing. If I tried to look too far ahead, do too much, I felt like I'd get overwhelmed. So I stayed on my day-by-day path. I worked with my trainers every day, and then it gave me, it kind of allowed me to see where my priorities lied. You know what I mean? I had my kids there. I got to be home a little bit more. I was missing a lot less. So it kind of changed my mentality off the court, too.
Nah, absolutely. Being a professional is fun. It comes with a lot of hard work, but it comes with sacrifices as well.
For sure.
And you just talked about, being with your kids, and you're kind of realizing, that you get to spend time with your kids. So I really want to ask you, like, how do you balance it? How do you balance, being the professional athlete that you were being a professional athlete and having your kids and having time to spend with your family?
You really have to prioritize time management, and I think that's hard for most young guys to do, especially when you first get into the league. I kind of figured it out a little bit my second go around, but just time management, figuring out where your priorities lie, and then placing them appropriately to get the results that you want. You know what I mean? So I'd wake up, I go through my basketball stuff in the morning, but at a certain time I cut it off. Like, I had to disconnect from basketball. Some people don't do that. Some people can't do that. You know what I mean? But you see the rewards from it, like a Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? Some other people who just are
dedicated,
super dedicated, but then they turn into the monsters that they become. And are able to dominate. So it's just prioritizing what are you going to sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you not willing to sacrifice? And being okay with what comes out of that.
You talked about staying connected to the game. Now that you're retired now, you're not playing anymore currently, but how do you stay connected to the game? How do you do that?
I get in the gym with some of the younger guys. For me, that's a way for me to stay connected and to give back to some of the younger generation with the wisdom and the technique skills that I've been able to acquire in my long journey playing basketball. Watching the UK team, I pop out to the game sometimes. Go to practice sometimes, but right now that's all I got going. I'm trying to get in with younger guys, high school guys, middle school guys, and then just be around the Kentucky guys. Eventually, I'll probably get back into coaching, but I want to expand in other areas first.
Do you know what age group you would like to coach, possibly?
Probably high school, to be honest. I probably go the high school route. College is too much traveling. NBA is too much. That's a huge dedication. Yeah.
No,
you got to
sure.
dedicate a lot to it. So I probably stay at the lower levels and just try to provide, some wisdom to the younger guys.
I feel it, man. What you talked about the younger guys, like for any younger guys, what are the lessons that you have learned, in your career, or throughout your entire life? What's the advice to the younger guys?
I don't want to sound cliche, but fall in love with the work. You know what I mean? The journey. Right now, we got a lot of instant gratification. You know what I'm saying? You hop on social media, you got your highlights. You looking at your rankings. There's a bunch of different things to get you distracted. But the more you fall in love with the actual process, waking up, going to the gym, getting your work in, figuring out an identity of who you want to be on the basketball court, I think that'll take you very, very far, especially in today's age.
No, for sure. Everything's social media based. There's a lot more distractions now compared to
Definitely.
Back then. We're on What's Next podcast. You gotta let the people know what's next. Darius Miller, what you got coming up next?
So right now, like I said, just different entrepreneurial stuff. I'm trying to give back to the people that supported me, giving them information, techniques, tools in order to take control of their life. So. Me and some of my guys, we had created a journal and different things for some mental well-being. That kind of went on hold because we didn't have the capacity right now, but that's still a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And also just like some real estate things, you know what I mean? Different opportunities. But I want to bring some different experiences to Lexington too. You know, I've been able to travel around the world, see a lot of different things, and I'm trying to pluck some of those things and bring them back to the city, bring them back to the state to make some change, you know? So
Yeah, for sure, man.
that's all I got going on right now.
I'm excited to see what it's going to plan out to be,
I
what it's
appreciate
going to
you.
look like for you, man. Pleasure having you on. I deeply appreciate you, man, and I hope to, hope to have you on one day again, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, we can chop it up again. But yeah, man, I appreciate you for coming on, man.
Appreciate you having me.
No problem. Ladies and gents, hit that like and subscribe button. Comment on it if you can. We're coming with another episode next week, so stay tuned. And Darius Miller, thank you again for coming on. That's all we got for today, folks.